Here's the thing, most people confuse motion with progress. Their calendars are crowded, their inboxes are stuffed, their desktops look like a garage sale, and they call that hustle. Busyness is a costume we put on to avoid the scarier work of deciding. I learned that early. When I dropped out of Reed, I didn't become smarter, I became lighter. I stopped following a course catalog someone else designed and started following curiosity. I walked into a calligraphy class that had no obvious ROI and discovered proportion, rhythm, the dignity of white space. It didn't look productive. It turned out to be foundational. Years later, that attention to the invisible shaped the soul of a computer millions of people would invite into their lives. That is the difference between doing more and becoming better. Busyness kills real progress because it steals the oxygen your best idea needs to breathe. Every extra meeting, every unguarded notification, every maybe you say yes to, that's another hand on your throat. When I was fired from Apple, a company I co-founded, the world thought the story ended. It didn't. It reset. Losing the title stripped away the noise. I could hear myself think again. I could build again. Next, Pixar, those weren't revenge projects. They were a return to the craft without the chorus. Simplicity isn't an aesthetic, it's a weapon. And the handle is focus. People ask for secrets. There aren't many. There's one I never shut up about. Make fewer, better decisions and let the rest starve. The most important choices in your life won't be what you add, they'll be what you refuse. Refuse to design for a slide deck instead of a human. Refuse to let your schedule be written by other people's urgency. Refuse to pretend later is a strategy. Focus is not a mood you hope for. It's a series of subtractions you perform without apology. You have a finite number of mornings left. That's not meant to haunt you, it's meant to concentrate you. Remembering I'll be gone soon has been the most practical tool I've used to make big decisions. Almost everything, fear, ego, the urge to collect trophies, falls away in the face of that fact, leaving only what's essential. Death is a ruthless editor. Let it work on your to-do list before it works on your biography. So if you feel stretched thin, understand the diagnosis. You don't have a time problem, you have a priority problem. You don't need more hacks, you need fewer obligations, you don't need a bigger team, you need a smaller set of promises you actually keep. Say yes to less, and watch what happens. Your energy returns, your taste sharpens, your work gets that eerie quality of inevitability. The feeling people describe as, of course it should be this way. That feeling isn't luck, it's the byproduct of disciplined subtraction. And one more thing, the culture will romanticize your busyness because it makes everyone feel better about their own. Don't take that deal. Decide what you're here to build and let the rest of it die on the vine. The core law, focus is saying no to 1,000 things. It turns out the hardest word in business and in life is a short one, no. People quote me on this because I kept saying it inside the building and on stages. Focus is about saying no to 1,000 things. It sounds brutal because it is. But no is how you make space for insanely great. Every single product I'm proud of is a graveyard of good ideas. We refused. When I came back to Apple, the product line looked like a crossword puzzle. Dozens of machines with overlapping names and confused stories. The fix wasn't to optimize the grid, it was to erase it. We drew a 4-square matrix on a whiteboard, consumer and pro, desktop and portable, 4 products. That edit hurt. People had spent years on the things that disappeared. But discipline creates clarity, and clarity creates speed. When the team knows exactly what to build, and just as importantly, what not to build, momentum becomes natural. We stopped trying to be everything and became ourselves again. No isn't negativity, it's stewardship. Every yes taxes your attention, your calendar, your standards. That tax is invisible until you wake up one day and realize you're working for your commitments instead of your customers. If you've ever sat in a meeting and felt your soul leave your body, you know what I'm talking about. Saying no isn't about being difficult. It's about telling the truth. This doesn't serve the promise we made. Focus also means saying no to yourself. I love ideas. I fall in love fast. And still, the job was to ask, does this idea make the core promise truer or less true? For iPod, the line was 1,000 songs in your pocket. If a feature didn't strengthen that line, it was gone, even if it impressed engineers. For iPhone, the line was one device for phone, music, and internet. That North Star gave us permission to kill clever tangents and the courage to back the crazy bet of a glass multi-touch slab with no physical keyboard. Focus isn't asceticism for its own sake, it's alignment. Here's what people miss. Saying no creates taste. Taste isn't snobbery, it's empathy and restraint. It's the discipline to remove what steals delight and the courage to defend what gives it back. My obsession with calligraphy wasn't about fonts. It was about respect for the human who would read the words, about making the machine disappear behind the message. You can't respect users and disrespect their attention. You can't claim excellence and tolerate clutter. I want you to feel the weight of this. Your life is the sum of the things you let in. If you flood your calendar with status updates, you'll produce status. If you protect mornings for deep work, you'll produce breakthroughs. If you say yes to every invitation, you'll become a professional guest at other people's priorities. You get to design this. Focus is a design decision applied to time. Stay hungry, stay foolish. That line wasn't about collecting experiences like stamps. It was permission to ignore the safe, crowded middle. Hunger asks, what is the one thing only I can build this way? Foolishness asks, am I brave enough to leave everything else on the floor? The focus framework, define, cut, double down frameworks are useful when they're ruthless. This one is 3 rules, no wiggle room. Define the priority, cut the distractions. Double down on what works. First, define the priority. Not 5, 1. Ask yourself in a quiet room, what is the hill I'm willing to take this quarter? Say it in a sentence a bright teenager would understand. Reduce sign-up friction by half. Ship the V1 that proves the market exists. Write the first 3 chapters that set the voice. If you can't say it simply, you don't know it yet. Write it on a card, put it where your eyes land in the morning. Your day is now a referendum on that sentence. Second, cut the distractions. This is where most people lose their nerve. Distraction isn't just your phone. It's any activity that lets you feel productive without putting a dent in reality. Inbox refreshes, meetings with no decision owner, dashboards you skim instead of users you call. These are sugar. Design an environment where your best behavior is the default. Phone sleeps outside the bedroom. No inputs for the first hour. 2 email windows, late morning and late afternoon, both after you ship something that matters. Meetings must end with a named decision or they didn't need to happen. If you need courage, borrow mine. If a building is burning, they will call you. Everything else can wait until your one thing is moved forward. Third, double down. When you find a seam that works, an approach that delights users, a message that gets replies, a prototype that makes the room go quiet, you don't celebrate by adding 5 experiments. You push your chips in, reallocate time, talent, budget, make the good thing great. The world doesn't reward breadth, it rewards depth that feels like magic. Doubling down also means killing almost good branches that siphon energy. Remember, every robust yes is supported by 10 quiet funerals. Here's the daily cadence I like. In the morning, before the world arrives, write the single move that advances your hill. Then do it for 60 to 90 minutes uninterrupted. At the end, name the artifact you created: onboarding decision memo V1, prototype search A, narration draft for hero video. Naming turns motion into memory. In the afternoon, talk to a real user or teammate and ask one question: what made this easier or harder than it should be? Then subtract one thing tomorrow that made it harder. Those 2 acts, ship and subtract, compound faster than you think. If this is landing, if you're tired of watching your potential get taxed by noise, then show it. If the idea resonates, if you believe in changing the status quo by saying yes to less and building what matters, subscribe to this channel. We're building a community that defends craft, demands clarity, and holds each other to the standard of our best work. Join us and bring someone who needs the courage to cut. Inside the iPhone, winning by cutting. Let me pull back the curtain on a project where saying yes to less wasn't a slogan, it was survival. The iPhone didn't begin as a phone. It began as a feeling, a glass slab that responds to your fingers like water, a screen that becomes anything, a device that dissolves complexity into gestures a child could learn without a manual. That feeling was obvious in the demo rooms and fragile in the real world. Early on, scope crept like ivy. Everyone had a feature that had to be there. A hardware keyboard, because that's what pro users wanted. A dozen toggles for power users. Legacy behaviors to appease the past. I kept asking one question. Does this make an iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator one device more true or less true? If it made it less true, it died, even if it impressed smart people in a meeting. Killing the physical keyboard wasn't a party trick. It was an act of faith in the future. It gave the screen back to the user. It let the device shapeshift from dialing to reading to maps without hardware fighting software. But killing it meant the software keyboard had to feel inevitable. That required hundreds of tiny decisions no one outside the building would ever write about. Key spacing, predictive behavior that felt like help instead of control, haptics that told your thumb. Yes, we threw away versions that were technically fine but emotionally wrong. That's the taste tax you pay to earn delight. I remember design reviews where teams brought beautiful features that complicated the story by 5 seconds. 5 seconds is forever when you're trying to teach a new behavior to millions of people. We cut until the first run felt like a friendly handshake, not a paperwork packet. We cut until the home screen read like a promise, not a buffet. We cut until a grandmother could swipe and smile. We also forced convergence. Separate teams were building phone, music, and internet experiences with their own rhythms and vocabularies. We made them sit together and argue in plain English. Not, is the spec compliant, but does this feel like one thing? That friction was expensive and worth every minute. Users don't care about org charts. They care about whether this object in their hand respects their time. This is what I want you to hear. The iPhone was not inevitable because we were clever. It was inevitable because we were ruthless. Ruthless about the story. Ruthless about the first 5 seconds. Ruthless about saying no to 1,000 things, some of them excellent so that the essential could sing. That's not unique to phones. That's true for your product, your team, your calendar, your life. The 7-day 𝐬𝐚𝐲𝐬 challenge talking is easy. Changing is design. For the next 7 days, run this experiment with me. Treat it like a product sprint for your life. You'll be tempted to complicate it. Don't. The power is in the edges you sand off. Day 1 inventory, the maybes. Sit with a blank page and write every commitment currently renting space in your head. Projects, meetings, favors, someday ideas. Say them out loud. Feel the weight. Now star the 3 that move your mission. Circle the 1 that is your hill for the next 90 days. Everything else is a maybe. You just met your opponent. Day 2, write the promise. Boil your hill into a single sentence a human can defend. Put it where you can't avoid it. Above your desk, on your lock screen, on the first page of a notebook. This isn't wallpaper, it's a contract. By the way, if you need 150 words to explain it, you don't have it yet. Keep cutting until the sentence clicks. Day 3, cut the obvious. Remove 3 distractions today, not next week. Today, cancel a recurring meeting that never produces a decision. Move your phone out of the bedroom and off the morning table. Turn off all notifications. Turn back on only the ones that would ruin your day if you miss them. You will feel phantom vibrations in your pocket. That's just withdrawal. Day 4, build the studio. Protect a 90-minute block in the morning for deep work. Close the door, put the phone in another room. Start with a clock and a single tool, pen and paper, code editor, design canvas. Before you touch the work, write the 1 move that advances your hill, then do it. When the timer ends, name what you shipped. Drafted pitch outline, prototype navigation, decision memo on pricing. Naming makes it real. Day 5, say 3, honest no's. You will receive invitations, some flattering, some urgent, some vague. Decline 3 of them with respect and finality. If you need language, borrow mine. I'm focused on 1 priority this month and can't do this without breaking that promise. If it's still essential next month, let's revisit. You're not being cruel, you're being clear. Day 6, double down on the signal. Look at your week's artifacts and ask, what worked? Not what was popular, what moved the hill. Take one of those moves and go deeper. If a user interview cracks something open, schedule 2 more. If a prototype made someone smile unprompted, refine that flow, not 5 others. Depth is where the compounding lives. Day 7, review, subtract, recommit. Print the list from day 1 next to the artifacts from days 4 through 6. Feel the difference between noise and progress. Cross out one more commitment, you don't owe your future, then rewrite your Hill sentence in ink and sign it. You just designed a week that points somewhere. Now do it again. A few scripts to carry forward. For meetings, what decision does this meeting produce? If none, send a memo. For scope creep, does this make the billboard line truer or less true? If less true, it's gone. For yourself at 7 a.m., no inputs before I create an output. Run this for a week and watch your energy return. Run it for a month and watch your standards harden. Run it for a quarter and don't be surprised when the right people and the right opportunities start orbiting you. It won't be magic. It will be the gravity that comes from a person who knows what they're building and refuses to be rented by noise. One more thing, the courage to edit your life. I want to end with the deceptively simple truth that shaped my work and my days. Your life becomes what you repeatedly permit. If you permit clutter, you'll live in a museum of almosts. If you permit interruptions, you'll become a full-time firefighter in a city you didn't build. If you permit yourself to be pulled in 10 directions, you'll arrive nowhere in particular, exhausted and strangely empty. The opposite is within reach. Permit clarity. Permit long stretches of quiet where your best ideas can find you. Permit a standard that makes average uncomfortable. Permit the discipline to cut work you're proud of because it makes the whole worse. When you live like that, people will call you difficult. Good. Difficult is what discipline looks like from the outside. From the inside, it feels like relief. Connect the dots looking backward, that line still guides me. Dropping out wasn't romantic, it was subtraction. Getting fired wasn't noble, it was subtraction. Returning wasn't triumph, it was focus applied to a few things done insanely well. And when I stood on a stage and told a group of students to stay hungry and stay foolish, I wasn't selling them a poster. I was handing them a knife. Hunger is the courage to cut what's comfortable. Foolishness is the courage to cut what's conventional. So here's my ask. Tomorrow morning, don't open your inbox looking for identity. Don't scroll your feed looking for instructions. Sit down, read your one sentence, make one move that makes it truer. Then say no to something that tries to steal the afternoon you just earned. If you do that today and then again tomorrow, the compounding takes care of the rest. If this idea resonates, if you believe in changing the status quo by saying yes to less and building something that actually matters, then show it. Subscribe to this channel because we are gathering people who think differently, who choose craft over clutter, and who will remind you to keep the promise you made to yourself. The journey doesn't end here. If you're committed to putting a dent in the universe with fewer, better decisions, subscribe and press the like button to join the movement. Now close the tab, pick the hill you'll take, say one honest no, and go do something wonderful.